welcome. I'm Philipp, and today we are talking about sales and sales hacks. And first of all, maybe the most important thing today is that I have to say that sales is not a rocket science. So everybody can learn it, everybody can do it, and everybody can be good in it. And before we start with the content, I have in the end a QR code with my LinkedIn profile, and you can drop me a message and I will send you all the slides. So you don't need any notes or anything like this. So a couple of weeks ago, I found the 10 most frequently mistakes in B2B sales, and I highlighted 2 of them because I personally faced them and I see it really often, especially in early stage startups. So first, I see really often that startups in the B2B sales, they have not a really sharp market approach. So they want to cover a wide market, and I think this is really, really toxic. So you need a sharp target customer theory, and you have to tackle it really with a focus. Second, and that's my personally fuck up, I can say. I founded a startup a couple of years ago, and I talked with the Deutsche Telekom over months. So it was really annoying, and I think it's a typical thing with corporates. I thought, okay, another meeting and I catch the customer, but I not realized that I can also say no, and that's a really big thing. So you as a startup, you can also say no. And if you feel that the customer don't want your product really fast, it's a really good thing to say no in one point. And maybe to my agenda, what are the topics today? So I will talk with you about sales and business development and what is the important difference about it. I will talk about sales process, about lead generation, lead qualification, and in the end, we have a Q&A session, and you can ask me anything. And maybe a few words to myself. So I'm Philipp. I founded a cybersecurity startup a couple of years ago. So it's a Code Intelligence. And I founded a company builder. We focus on deep tech company building. And on the other hand, I have a second hat. So I manage the venture capital activities for my family office, and we invested in early stage startups, so with 250,000 to 2 million, so bigger tickets for a family office. And we also invested in venture capital firms like Earlybird and some others. So we are well connected for follow-on investments. And we did 8 investments, but they scale really good. So we have a lot of employees in it. And my personal topics are strategies, B2B software sales, leaderships, also recruiting and this stuff. And I personally try to support my portfolio companies with sparring, sometimes interim management and this stuff. Yes. So let's start with my first bigger topic, sales for business development. I thought that sales is really, really important. So my first investor, it's the HGGF. They always say, okay, you have to sell your product, your technology. And I realized really late that in the early stage here, so when you start with a sales thesis, you think that this and this target customers need this and this product. I don't realize that the thesis is not really fixed, it's dynamic. You have to develop multiple theses and not only one. And we developed one, we tried to sell it, and we struggled a bit with that. And I realized really late that the point ready to sell is not really easy to reach. So you start with some theses like, who's the perfect target customer? What is the perfect product for my target customer? What is the right channel, and what kind of people do we need for the team? And these kind of these questions you can challenge with your co-founder, with your coach, or whatever. again and again and again in this stage, evaluation, and when you realized, okay, I found a potential target customer group which is really interested in my product, and you have a couple of agreements with them, you know, okay, you're ready to sell. And in the early stage, pre-seed, seed, you do nothing else than building theses and evaluate the theses again and again, like I said. And this is typical proof of concept, proof of market, and here is a growth stage. So what I want to say is that this here is typical business development, and this here is sales. So the moment you need sales reps, senior sales guys, it's not here, it's here. And that's one of my biggest mistakes. So we waste a lot of money to hire senior sales guys in the early stage, and that's, from my opinion, not good. So Series A, Series B, that's the sales stage. So when you are an early stage startup, so I think it's important to handle with business development, to learn what are the right techniques, what are the right methods, and which people are good in it, and how can I hire them. So, and I want to talk with you more about these kind of topics here. And I will start with the sales process. That's a bit basic, so I will flip to it a bit. So when you try to empower your sales structure, you start with a sales process. This is a typical pipeline, so or the classical funnel. And you can do it in this way, but you can also do it in other ways, or you can use other claims. But from my personal opinion, it's really good to start with a target. So that's the sales theory, target customers. For example, I'm a supply chain startup, and my theory is that the potential target customers are logistic providers, and so on. Then I make a list with a lot of targets, and then I try to speak with them. And when I spoke with them and they are interested in my product, they are a lead. So they know me, they know my product, and they say it's interesting. But I don't know if they have budget, or I speak with a decision maker. When I know I speak with a decision maker, we are in a qualified lead stage. When I'm negotiating with them, we are in the opportunity dialogue, really long, until we do a pilot project and then roll out, customer success, upselling, and so on. And the most important thing about the stages is, with the stages you can bring metrics in. For example, you can track your conversion rates. So how many leads do I need for reaching one qualified lead, and so on. How long are the deals in the stages? And this is really important for sales forecast. You aren't able to do a sales forecast, you aren't able to do a good financial planning without this kind of pipeline. That's more information. You can have it in the slides if you want. The biggest challenge in this sales process is always the same. So it's always lead generation and lead qualification. And let's have a deeper dive in it. So lead generation, I start with a hack, a personal hack from myself, because I started with Code Intelligence as a spin-off from university. It is a really technical thing. So we did software analysis, and we don't have a product, or we don't had a product in the beginning. And our personal hack was that we searched people in our, let's say, customer community, so IT security corporates, and we asked them, so we tried to convince them with our vision, with our technology, and we tried to build up a kind of advisory board network. And we catched the chief security officer from the Deutsche Telekom before we have had any product. And he enabled us to catch the first clients. So a really good opportunity if you don't have a ready-to-sell product, you can find people who have a good signaling in your target customer area, who have trust, who can spare you with some good content, and maybe have some good network. And the chief security officer from the Deutsche Telekom helped us a lot. So I'm really thankful. But I can say it's not so hard to find good advisory boards, because the question is, so how can you give an incentive? And so the first pro bono, this is really difficult because they have not really a commitment, and sometimes they help you, but sometimes not, and you're always the last priority. But you can do daily rates, so it's really expensive. You can do commissions for sales activities, but I strongly recommend to give them a small piece of your company in virtual shares and combine it with a milestone vesting. To explain milestone vesting in a nutshell, so you can make a condition with the advisory board contract and with the shares that you say, okay, you get shares when you do this or that. So when he brings you customers, he gets some shares, something like that. So you have less risk and high opportunities. So, and this helped me personally. I have a portfolio startup who has the COO of Canon Printing, and they are also in the printing area. And I can promise you this is really, really helpful, especially in the early stage. Okay. I talked about the metrics, and I want to underline it again, because when you talk about leads, it's always important, classically, the amount of leads, but also the conversion rates and the time you need to get the lead in the next stage. And the reason why it's so important, I made an example. I don't know if the last attendees can see it, but to make it short, you need a lot of leads to get one client. So this is only an example. This can't fit. I think it's more or less average. But in this example, you need 160 leads to get one client. So 160 people you spoke with. A lot of negotiations and qualifications for one closing. And you need a couple of months. So what I want to say is that it's really, really, really important to find really fast the right target customers to try out your theories, and to get a lot of leads to get a closing. And when we are talking about how to get leads, so how we can get 160 leads, so we can get it with inbound and outbound. So in a nutshell, it means that inbound activities is a kind of pull. So you give some content to the community and they drop a message or they fill out a form. This is an inbound lead. If you do cold calling, or you are on a fair like this here and you go to some people and say, hey, can I pitch my product? So this is outbound sales. And in general, it's really hard for early stage startup to do this here because nobody knows you. You aren't really fixed with your customer series. That means that you don't have a lot of content in general. And I think it's really important to deal with this here, to go on a lot of events, to do cold calling with LinkedIn and this stuff. And search some good multipliers like the Digital Hub in Düsseldorf. This is a list, you can see it in the slides, but you have a lot of opportunities to generate content. And I will highlight 4 of them. I really like, because it's really easy to work with videos on LinkedIn, for example. So small clips with good industry insights, with valuable content for your customers. And you can easily track the engagement, so the likes, the comments, and you can see, okay, do I hit a good target customer group or not? You can work with infographics, for example, landscapes. This is really useful because a lot of employees in corporates, they have the task, okay, create a landscape, and if they find a landscape on your website, they have a good, they have a positive view on your company and your products, maybe. Also, market research, I think, always work which needs a couple of hours, maybe days, is a really good content nugget for your community. And last, of course, if you have really good industry insights, so rule of thumbs or whatever, this is also really good content. But it's not really. So it's also important that you have a plan for your content. It's not only useful if you have a good content nugget. So you have to bring it in a plan. So and you start like I mentioned before with a theory of your target customers, and then you try to define a goal. For example, I have the theory that X epsilon is my target customers, and my goal is to find out if the target customer, the potential, is really interested in my product. And then you sharp your target audience, and that means that you have to know which kind of job title is relevant, which kind of job titles is related to the buying center. So is it the C-level, is it the middle management, and which is the name of the potential buyer. Then you can define the contents of the potential buyer, so really, really sharp. And after that, you have maybe a kind of, in German we say Blaupause, I don't know the English word, but so you have a more or less concrete plan, and then you start to research what do the competitors, and you don't copy the competitors. That's really important. So you have to build up unique content to get a good to do a good advertising. And in the end you have to promote it. And only an example that's not really pretty, I have to say, but this is a kind of a plan. So really structured, and which date do we, what kind of content, who is responsible for it, and this is a possibility to bring it in a kind of structure. But this is you can make it better, I think. And here, only to show that when you have these 4 stages, so reach, act, convert, and engaged. For early stage startup, this is really important. So how can we produce reach, that my target customers know me? How can we act with them? And convert and engage is in the early stage startup more or less waste of time. So how can we win some reach with my customers? So if we have a strong thesis, that's good. But it's important to evaluate it. And lead qualification is exactly the thing you can do it. And first of all, I think it's important when you have a meeting appointment with your potential client, it's important that you ask a lot. So maybe a rule of thumb, you have to speak less than 50% in a meeting. If you have 60 minutes, please speak less than 30 minutes. So, and when you talk, it's important that he get familiar with you and a person, that you show your references, that you build up street credibility, and that you always speak on point. But the question is, so what should I ask? What is important to ask? And here are a lot of theories. So the first, and this is pretty old, is BANT. You ask for what is the budget, who is the authority, what is the need, what is the timeline. So this is really old school. A development is SPIN, and that's That was the framework my sales coach teach me. I have to say he's really old. That's not the hottest shit, but it's a bit better to understand the situation of the customer than to talk about the problem and then give them a feeling how your product can solve the problems. But we have more. So Medic is a bit better because you ask about the decision criteria and the decision process. And I think this is something which is really complex in big corporates and definitely improvement. After that came Puka, so more metrics. And the last one, and that's the hottest shit, more or less, is GPCTBA C&A. And to sum it up, the most important thing here is that you talk with your potential client about the negative consequences and the positive implications of the person you speak with. For example, if you negotiate with or about proof of concept or a bigger rollout, so big budgets, big opportunities, but also risk to fail, it's important to ask him, okay, when this project will fail, do you lose your job or do you get a promotion or a bonus? What is it? And if you understand the personally incentive or downside, you have better arguments to do the closing. So, and I really like this, and I can say this works. So, yeah, I think it's a good possibility to have a structure to identify the opportunities. And here's an example. So that's more or less a best practice. I think it's really hard to do it exactly in this way. But in the best case, you do a short introduction, you ask a lot of questions to understand the customer, then you give them the information he needs, and after that, you definitely have to do a commitment, like, okay, what is the next step? What do we have to do? And yeah, I will flip over that because you can see it in the slides, but here in a lot of examples, what kind of questions you can ask concretely. Yeah, so I think, no, are we done? No. So I have a bit time, and I will do a short X-course. I have extra content for you. I will talk a bit about pricing. Maybe it's interesting, because pricing is always a topic for early-stage startups. And I found a research paper, it was really interesting, and they say, okay, if we split the closings in 3 categories, we can talk about acquisition, so new customers. We can talk about retention, so holding customers, and monetization, so upselling from existing customers. And in the research, I think they ask 100 or 300 SaaS startups, I'm not sure, but a lot. And the SaaS startups said, okay, when we invest 1% more in new customers, we got 3% more revenues. 1% more retention, 6%, 1% more upselling, 12%. And this graphic shows that this here is a big fish. Should not engage, so not win new customers. It's important to upsell it. And that's the reason why a lot of SaaS startups give their basic solutions for free to get a lot of users, and then they try to upsell it with additional features. So, and when you try to find a good price, so you have the value on the one hand, and you have the costs, and something between is a price. So this is the incentive to buy for the customers. So if you have a value 20x about the costs, about the price, it's a no-brainer for the customers to buy it. But if you don't have enough margin, it's not really useful for you. So you have to find a good balance between. And I think it's the best to talk about the value and fix the price, yeah, with the value and not with the cost, because then you don't have really the chance to earn money. So this is not really helpful. And to find a good price for the value, you have to ask yourself two questions. So the first, what is a quantifiable value? And that's really hard, I know, but this is one of the most important questions you have to face. So, for example, when you do a kind of a trial with the customer, I think it's not important that you earn money. It's really important that you understand the quantifiable value. So, for example, they save X money, or they save X hours of time, or whatever. And then to make a kind of benchmark for the customers, that he don't need to compare, that you do it for the customers really, really good. And I have a rule of thumb for you. Maybe this is helpful, because I learned the 10-5-20 rule. Means that you take your price 10% of the value. That means when you can save 10,000 euros per year, you can set the price about 1,000 euros. If you can save 1 million, you can do 10% of that. So this is really easy to argument for the customers, and because he think, okay, this is really cheap, so I can save 10x or something like that. So, and this is a really good opportunity to show it when you have the quantifiable value. So last, but you don't know if this is a sweet spot. So you can increase your price 5% in whatever period you are comfortable with, and until 20% of your customers leave, you stop it, and you know, okay, this is the best price I can get. And so this is a way to start. So first quantifiable value, and then this is a possibility. Yes, so I think now we are more or less done, and start with a Q&A if you have any questions. And here is my LinkedIn profile. You can scan the QR code and drop me a message, and I will send you all the slides. Yes. Questions? Was it helpful? So, okay, that's good. And yeah, thank you for being here, and I wish you good luck. I hope. Okay, question.
Do you have an example for this freemium in B2B sales?
Again, so if I have an example for freemium, okay. Yeah, a lot of. So I personally invested a lot in open source startups. I'm kind of bullish, because open source is a great opportunity to share your technology with an open core strategy, for example, and to give them your software for free. And if you know, okay, we have a lot of engagement, we have a lot of comments, you know, okay, I hit a point, I hit a pain with a product, with a customer. I ask them, okay, what is missing, and they will say, okay, this and this feature is useful for us. Then we can use it in our company, and then you definitely know what kind of SaaS product you can publish on top of your open source project. But yeah, for what is a good example, maybe. Yeah, so for example, Dropbox maybe is a good example. So a public one. So they give their a few storage for free. They got a lot of clients, and every client realized, okay, this is not enough space for me, and they made an upgrade. A lot of them. Spotify is also an example. So we have really big ones, but I think really a trend is open source. And I really hardly can recommend, if you have a tech company, to think about it, and you will get more and more investors who are interested in it. Okay, another question? Then again, thank you for being here. Have a good time and good luck with your sales, and maybe we'll see you soon. Bye bye.